Okay, Psalm 37. In Psalm 37, you notice that the very first psalm, the very first verse starts with the word fret not. Fret not. And then down in verse 7, you see the words fret not. And then in verse 8, you'll see the words fret not. 3 times, and we'll read those verses in just a second, but 3 times that God uses that term, fret not. And as I told you, as I told the church a few minutes ago, and that I was listening to a wonderful sermon by Brother Dean Herron up in South Valley Baptist Church in Idaho, and he preached this message about fret not, and it was it really spoke to my heart, because it was something that I too see all over the place, and that is that we worry and we get concerned and we fear, and God is trying to get us to see that we shouldn't allow this thing to consume us with fear, but it's everywhere, and so it's not unusual, and so many people battle the fear that goes on in the world today because of everything that we see. And as I was reading this, along as Brother Dean was preaching this, and I began to look at it, and I couldn't preach his sermon, but his is much better than what I'm going to say. But I got the ideas of what he was trying to say from this fret not. And I wanted to share them with you. I wanted to share some of the things that I got out of it as I was listening to him. And some of the notes that I was writing down as I was getting the points of what he was trying to express to his congregation. I thought, we all need that. We all need to grasp the things that God is trying to tell us here, because I'm just like everybody else. I sometimes want to take care of the situation myself. I look out the window and I think, you know what? I'm going to take care of that. And God is saying, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I'll take care of it. And so there's some things that I'd like to talk about tonight to try to help us get through this thing of all the fear and the fret and the worry on how God deals with it right here. I think this is a powerful, even though I can't give it to you in a powerful way, God gives it to us in the powerful way, and that's the key. The title of my message, because naturally I try to look at things and then look at it from the standpoint of what's going on in America today, because we've got the elections coming up, and I think everything in my mind is gearing toward what is God telling us about what's going on in our country today. And so I titled the message, "The Fear That Grips America." The fear that grips America. Let's read Psalm 37. We won't read the whole psalm, just the first 8 verses. It says, "Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger, and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Well, I tell you what, when I look sometimes at what's going on in the world, I want to do evil. And what God is trying to say is that's not my place. What we see in, I think, all across, it's not just us, but it's all across the nation, that there's a lot of people that worry and have fear about all kind of things that are going on in the world today. 3 times here, David writes those words, fret not. And David knew that and David wrote that because he understood that he saw the wicked people prospering. That's what he's looking at here. He's looking at the wicked, and they're getting everything. They're making out good. And they're doing evil, they're doing wicked, and yet they're making money. They're living a good life. And David is looking out there and seeing evil people prosper, and he gets mad. He gets angry. He wants to pick up the sword and take care of business. But God is saying, whoa, that's not your job. I'll take care of those things. David understood fear because people had tried to kill David before, and he had run for his life. So David understood that. But the reason God doesn't want us to fear, the reason God doesn't want us to have that fear in our heart and that fret that we have is because it becomes a cancer to us. It destroys us. It eats at us. It will try to destroy our faith. It will try to destroy our life. It will destroy our families. It will destroy our homes. When we live in fear, it causes major problems within us and everybody around us. Good people worry. That's the thing we have to understand. Godly people worry. Good Christians worry. Good people live in fear. And God is trying to tell us not to do that. He's trying to tell us that we shouldn't have that worry. We shouldn't have that fear. We shouldn't have that anxiety because it is something that will take charge of our life. And it's everywhere, and people, we see it all the time. I was reading about a lot of this fear that is gripped America. And you know that fear relates, as I was reading about fear and anxiety that people have. It relates to something that is a known threat. That's where fear comes from. It's something that we know about. You know, we see a fire coming, we have fear. We see somebody that wants to try to hurt us, that's fear. Fear is something that we see, that we know about, and that's something that we have a fear of. We might have a fear of an animal. We might have a fear of something that could hurt us in some way. We know about it, and we have fear. Anxiety is having that same fear inside, but we don't know why. It's something that we don't know about, but yet we wake up with it, or we live with it, or we go through the day and we have this thing that just grips our heart and grips our life, but we don't know where it comes from. So that's the difference between fear and anxiety, is that fear we know where it's coming from, and anxiety we don't know where it's coming from. I was reading in magazine online Psychology Today, and the article that I was reading about was this article about fear and anxiety and all of what's going on in America today. And what they said was it has spiked. It has really gone up. This fear and anxiety among people has just risen over the past year. And they made a statement The reason that they have determined that it has spiked is because of the unrest in America. That seems to be the biggest cause when they talk to people that are going through fear, that are going through anxiety. The biggest reason that they said that they gathered from everybody was what was going on in America, the unrest. And you see, that's what you see in verse 1. In verse 1 there, it says, "Fret not thyself because of the evildoers." You see, what's going on in America today are the evildoers. And the thing that we see so much about these evildoers is that they have a purpose. And their purpose is to cause unrest in America. They're hoping to cause unrest to try to affect the election that's coming up. They're trying to create chaos in the streets. They're trying to create chaos among people to try to persuade people to vote one way or the other. They weren't there, you see, 4 years ago. But then now, all of a sudden, they have come out into the streets, and what they're trying to do is to create chaos, and many, many people across this nation have been worried about what they're seeing that's going on in the world today. That unrest that's out there is causing a lot of fear in the hearts of people. I'm going to be looking at tonight. I'm going to look at this idea of why we fear tonight. Here, in talking about the fear that grips America, tonight I'm going to talk about why we fear. And then next week, I'm going to talk about why we shouldn't fear. And you see, there's two different ideas here. Now, let me share with you why we fear. And now, one of the first idea that I got from Brother Dean when he preached these ideas, the first thing that I took from him on all of this was a good thought. And that is that we fear because we're under attack. That's one of the reasons why we fear. We fear because we're under attack. When people look around, they see that it appears that this nation is under attack. That things are going on in this nation that we fear. We see things that are happening in the streets. We see things that are going on. And so people get this thought in their heart that you know what, we're under attack by a lot of evil people that are out there. If you are on social media and if you do anything like the Facebook or anything like that, one of the things that I know that I've got 500 something friends that follow, that are friends with our church Facebook page, and the only thing I put on our Facebook page is my sermons. I put them on there so that people could hear the sermon. People could look at the sermon. People could get something from the sermon. I don't put anything else on there. But the thing that on the other side, you know, there's this home page where you put something on there, and then there's another section, and that's when you go over there and you see what everybody else is posting. Well, I tell you what, don't let people, what they're posting, go out on your Facebook page, because, boy, some of the things that people post. But the thing that I notice when I go over there and look at what people are posting on their Facebook page, and I get them all, they all show up because we're friends. And I'm looking at all of this, and I tell you what, if I sit there and read that stuff, I would be so depressed. I see nothing but people that are posting all the evil, all the horrors, all the terrible things that are going on in America. You would think America was in a revolution by looking at all the things that people post. People are posting marches People are posting, people that are holding up signs saying we're going to crucify Christ. And then the next one down under that, there's somebody calling for, we're going to burn down churches. And then the next one under that is we're going to do this and we're going to kill this. And it goes on and on and on. And if I allowed that to be what I read, I would be frightened to death of what's going on in the world today. It just, but you know, as I looked at all that, I remembered the great leader during World War II, Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, who was the leader of the Great Britain, and they withstood the bombing and the attacks of Nazi Germany, and he made that great speech, and in that line, he said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And boy, what a powerful statement he said to his people. Don't be afraid of the bombing. We're going to endure. Don't be afraid of that invasion from the Germans because we will withstand them. We are going to win. And he kept preaching it. Don't be afraid because that's the only thing that can defeat you. Fear itself. He said, and I remembered that and I began to think, you know, what are we afraid of? As I looked at all of these marching, all of these revolutionaries, all of these people that are causing all of this destruction in the streets, it dawned on me that all of those people that are doing that make up less than 1% of the entire United States. If you stop and think about it, all those people are just in one little place in Oregon. And then there's another little group somewhere like Chicago or something like that. But they make up less than 1% and probably less than 0.5%. So you got America, which is made up of 99.9% of people that want America to survive. Yeah, we disagree. You've got Democrats, you've got Republicans, you've got conservatives, you've got liberals. But you know what? What it amounts to is even the liberals and the conservatives agree on one thing, and that is it is better for America to survive than to fall down. Even the liberals want America to survive. They want their way in the laws. They want things changed to go with their thought. But they don't want America to be destroyed. They want Social Security. I mean, the vast liberals, they still want America to survive. They would like changes in America, but they don't want to go live in Russia. They don't want to go live in Cuba. They don't want to go live in South America. You hear all of these Hollywood stars saying they're moving out, but if you've noticed, nobody has packed their bags and left yet in the last 4 years. The fact is, they don't want to leave. All that is talk. And the majority of people in America, the 99.9% of Americans want America to survive. There's just a little pocket of troublemakers. And those troublemakers, by the way, are made up of a lot of people that are very successful. And but yet here they are out there trying to cause anarchy in the streets. But you know what? The reason that we get inundated with it is because that's all you see if you watch NBC, CBS, CNN, if you watch any of those, which I don't. But if you watch any of that, or if you read Facebook and all of what people are posting, it will bring you down. And that's one of the reasons why so many people are afraid in today's world. But listen, one of the things, what God said, I want you to see some things why people are afraid, as David talked about it. Look in verse 12. In verse 12, he says, the wicked plotteth against the just. That's one of the reasons why people are afraid right there. We see them attacking us. We think for some reason this little 0.5% or whatever they are that is causing trouble in the street, we tend to think that these wicked people are plotting against us. But you know what? I haven't seen anybody marching down our streets around here. I haven't seen any of it going on around here. Haven't seen it in any place but the little pocket where they all live in some little spot out there in Oregon. But you know what? That's what we get if we're not careful. That's what will take over our minds right there, that the wicked plotteth against us. David saw that, but you know what? But David realized that he was all right because he was with God. In verse 14, notice it talks about the wicked again. The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy and to slay such as to be upright, the upright conversation. That's the upright lifestyle. We see them marching. We see them riding in the streets. We see them burning things. But you know what? But what bothers us is nobody is fighting them. Nobody's out there stopping them. You know, that's one of the things that really bothers us, is that we see them riding and then we're sitting there and we might watch the news and see all that and we're wondering, well, where's the police? Well, where's the army? Well, where's the people that are going out there? But you know what? Nobody stopped them. And you know why? Because they're a little pocket of people in one little spot out there and nobody really cares. You know, they're just out there. And so they're just going out there. Nobody's stopping them. Go ahead. That's your community. That's your neighborhood. Burn it down and then live in the streets. But, you know, the police aren't out there trying to stop anything. Just go ahead. And so, but that bothers us because we want to see it stopped. And that causes fear because we don't see anybody out there stopping it. In verse 21, David says, the wicked borroweth and payeth not again. You know, that's another thing that we don't understand. How do these people support themselves? I mean, they're out there tearing up the place, and they're out there burning stuff down, and they're out there running wild in the streets, and we sit there and look at them and we wonder, how do they support themselves? They're out there living in the streets and running around, and yet we don't understand, and that bothers us. When things like that bother us and we don't understand what's going on, fear comes into our hearts. And then we see in verse 32 another one. He says, the wicked watches the righteous and seeketh to slay him. That's another fear that people have. That these people are calling for the deaths of Christians. They're calling for the deaths of people. They hold up signs and saying, we're going to burn this down, or we're going to destroy this, or we're going to kill this. And you know what it does? It scares us. It scares people. And that's why some people are in fear, because they see what's going on out there. And they think that these people are coming to try to destroy us. And that causes a lot of fear. So people have a fear of all of this that's going on. The second thing that I want you to see right here is that we fear because justice isn't served. Justice isn't served. That's another thing that causes people to fear. We want the police to show up. We want the National Guard to move in against all these people that are causing trouble. But you see, fear grips us sometimes when we're not seeing justice served. We want these people to be arrested. Notice in verse 7 what God said. He said, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. He said, fret not thyself because of him who prospereth. We want somebody to show up. We want somebody to take care of them. Why are they prospering? What are they doing out there? We want somebody to show up and take charge and deal with those people that are out there. He said, wait on the Lord, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. show up and take care of them. I don't want to wait patiently. I want the army to show up and take care of them. But you know what? The army's not showing up and the police not showing up. And you know, that causes fear in my heart. Well, where's the police? Why aren't they dealing with these people out there? You see, we want justice served. We want the people to show up and deal with these people. As I began to look at these people that cause anarchy in the streets, I began to look at and started doing some looking at some of the files that have been posted about these people that were arrested for things. You know, I was amazed at the people that got arrested out there in these riots that were burning down and things like that. There were a number of school teachers that were arrested, that were out there throwing firebombs. They were out there burning and looting and tearing things up. Why were school teachers out there at doing that? They got good jobs. They make high salaries. And yet they're out there trying to tear down things. You know what? The whole reason is, as I mentioned before, the number one reason why when they were interrogated on why they were involved in that, out there burning and looting, it was to try to cause chaos in America to persuade the election that's coming up. They just want to try to get people to be angry at the president. They want people to be angry at this nation. They want people to be upset. And they're trying to cause chaos in the street. And these are school teachers that the parents will take their little children to Miss who so-and-so's room, and she's been out there in the street burning and looting and throwing firebombs, and then the next morning there she is in the classroom taking the little children in to brainwash them in her liberal left-wing philosophy. And so, but nobody cares. She's out there. You know, not only school teachers. There were some there was an architect that was arrested. There was lawyers. Some lawyers have been arrested that were out there throwing firebombs. There was a college professor that was out there that was involved in this. All of these different people, they have good jobs and they draw good salaries, and yet they're out there in the streets, not because they want to tear down the city and burn the city and destroy their neighborhoods. They're trying to cause chaos to try to persuade the election. And so we have here, what we have here is things that are causing people in America to have fear in their hearts. And the fact is that we really don't have anything to fear, because they just make up a little pot of people. And we fear because justice isn't being served. We want them stopped, but yet look at them and who they are. And they're not a threat to America. They're just trying to, this is their way that somebody has persuaded them that they're going to change the voting in this country. There's a third thing that I wanted to share with you on why we fear. We fear because we cannot control the situation. We fear because we cannot control the situation. Notice in verse 8, he says, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. I don't want to cease from anger. I want to be angry at them. I want to hate them. I want to take out my wrath upon them. You know what? But God says, no, you're not to do that. God says, cease from anger. Boy, I tell you what, if I could just let my anger out, that would make me feel better. If I can hate them, it makes me feel better. If I can take my wrath out on them, it makes me feel better. Boy, I tell you what, the things that come into your mind when you watch people try to tear down our nation, to try to tear down the things that they're against, the things that maybe I stand for. And I watch them and I look at them, and then all of a sudden it's like, boy, I could take care of it. I'll get my group together and we'll go out there and we'll stop that. But God says, no, that's not your place. You're not to do that. And so he tells us to cease from anger, cease from wrath. Don't do it. And so when we can't do it, when we can't control the situation, it causes us to have this fear because we can't do anything about it. We sit at home and we think, well, I better just lock my doors. I better lock my windows. I better stay inside because I don't know, it might be out in my neighborhood tomorrow. Well, it's not. It hasn't come yet. Probably not going to come. But, it's just that, and we have this fear, and I hear people talking about now, after the election, boy, if Trump wins, there's going to be mass riots in the streets. I don't believe that. I don't believe there's going to be mass riots in the streets. Well, there's going to be a few over here that's going to do something. There's going to be a few over there that are going to do something. But look at, compared to this nation, who they are and what they are. Do you know that the majority of every city, they don't want their city burned down? That's where they live. They don't want their stores burned down. That's their livelihood. You got a handful of little people that are wanting to try to create riots, but they're wanting to destroy the very neighborhood that their families live in. I don't believe that we're going to see it as people fear. It's surely there'll be some, but when you start to compare those people, how many is it? 1,000? 1,000 people? What is 1,000 people compared to 6 million people? You're talking about one little tiny blip of percent. And who knows what's going to happen? But the thing of it is, they're small in number. Small and tiny in number. The reason that we get scared is because we can't control the situation. We're not in charge. We can't send the army in. We want the president to send the army in. But the law prevents the president from sending the army in. The president can't send the army into a city unless the mayor requests, or the governor. I think the governor has to request that the president send the army in. But he can't send the National Guard in. They work for the governor. The president has no authority, no power. That protects the state from the federal government. That's in the Constitution or the bylaws or whatever. I don't know. Can't remember all of those things. But that protects us. And so the president is not going to do it. But you know what? That's why so many times people are afraid. People are afraid because we can't run it. We can't control it. And so what we have to do is understand why this fear grips us sometimes. We fear because we can't control it. We fear because the justice isn't being served the way that we want it served. We fear because we see that we're under attack. But we have to remember that those that are out there attacking are very, very small in number. They don't make up the majority of this nation. The majority of this nation, I truly believe, are good people. They're good. They might not be Christian, but they don't want this nation destroyed. They want America to survive. So let's pray. Let's have some prayer tonight for our nation and the leadership.